Now, the next part of the exercise, we're going to calculate the number of bookings, total room nights, and total revenue for each hotel. But this time, we're only going to consider standard room type bookings. So unlike the earlier part of the exercise where we could use SUMIF and COUNTIF, for this part of the exercise, we need to use a different function because SUMIF and COUNTIF both accept one criteria only. But this time we have two criteria. We need to match on the name of the hotel and also on the room type. So we're going to use another function called COUNTIFS to calculate number of bookings here. Now, COUNTIFS accepts even number of arguments because you always have the range that you want to evaluate plus the criteria that you want to apply to that range. And you can have multiple pairs of range and criteria. So in our case, we need two pairs. We need to specify that we want to count the number of times that a hotel name appears here in D6 colon D38. And at the same time, the room type should be standard. Okay, so in other words, if we did COUNTIFS where we match on the hotel name and on room type of standard, so let's say we were counting Royal Pacific Hotel and Towers. Here's one. Okay, this would be counted because the name matches the hotel plus the room type matches standard room type. Now, if we came to this one, we would match on the hotel name but not on the room type, so this would not be counted. This would not be counted either. And this would be counted, so we have two so far. This won't be counted. And that's it. We have the answer should be 2. So let's see if we'll get the same answer. So I go here. So COUNTIFS. And it's down here. It's just like COUNTIF except it has an S at the end. Okay, so the first criteria range is bookings. Okay, D6 colon D38 because that has all the hotel names. Criteria is also A16, the name of the hotel. The second criteria range is the range that has all of our room types. And again, the range with all of our room types. And this time I'm going to click here. I click here on the sheet tab. Okay, and as you can see here, it fills in the sheet for me. So as I click, it's being entered into the formula. Okay, it's E6 colon E38 has all the room types. So it's up here. Okay, and I need it to be equal to standard. Okay, now I'm actually entering this formula in another worksheet, so I have to press enter to go back there. Okay, and as we expected, the answer is 2. And I have to put a $sign here just to just so I can copy it to these rows without any problems. Okay, so these are now bookings for these hotels, but this time we have an additional criteria. The value in column E for that row should be equal to standard. Otherwise, we don't count them. We don't include them in our count. So now I'm going to do AutoSum, and that's our answer for standard. We can do the same thing here for deluxe. Okay, down here we have a number of bookings for deluxe. We'll do the same. Okay, we also need COUNTIFS because we have two pairs of arguments. Bookings, D6 colon D38, hotel name. The other criteria range is E6 colon E38, should be equal to deluxe. Now, in the next part of the exercise, we're going to calculate total room nights and total room revenue for each hotel for standard room type. And we're going to use a function called SUMIFS, which accepts more than one set of criteria. Now, our criteria is going to be the hotel name. Okay, the hotel name. Okay, so D6 to D38 should match the hotel name. And E6 to E38 should match the room type, which is either standard or deluxe. And the other argument is the range that we want to sum, which is K6 to K38, because this is the total room nights. So now that we know our arguments, let's go and enter the SUMIFS here. So SUMIFS. Okay, the range that we want to sum, so that will be K6 colon K38, because this is the range that has the room nights. Okay, the first set of criteria range 1, okay, that would be D6 colon D38, because this one has all of our hotel names. The criteria will be, it should match the hotel name that's in A16. The second criteria range is E6 colon E38, and this one should match the room type. So that is our SUMIFS function. It has 5 arguments. The first argument is the range that we want to sum. This contains the room nights. The second and third argument would be the range that we want to evaluate plus the matching criteria. The fourth and the fifth argument is the second set of criteria and the second range that we want to evaluate. So this looks correct. I'm going to press enter. And the answer is 13 for Royal Pacific Hotel and Towers standard room type. And I'm going to copy this down here. And I'm going to sum. Okay, so we have 177 total room nights for standard room types. We're going to now calculate the total room revenue. It's going to be very similar to total room nights. It's also going to be a SUMIFS with the same criteria. We need to match on the hotel name and on the room type. The only difference is for the range that we want to sum, the first argument, instead of bookings K6 to K38, we want to sum this range, L6 to L38, because this is the revenue, right? So now let's go back here and let's enter the SUMIFS function here. Okay, so the range we want to sum is going to be total amount, that's L6 colon L38. Okay, the first criteria range is the range that has all of the hotel names from our bookings. It should match this hotel name here in this cell. And the second set of criteria is the range that contains all of our room types, and it should be equal to standard. Okay, so that is our second SUMIFS to calculate the total room revenue. And the answer is $5,470 for Royal Pacific Hotel and Towers standard room type. I'm going to copy this to the other cells, and then I'm going to do AutoSum. And I'm going to format them all with the comma style. And you can easily see for yourself that Marco Polo Prince Hotel, Royal Garden Hotel, and Hyatt Regency have the 2 highest total room revenues for standard room rates. Now, in the last part of this exercise, we're going to check whether our answers are correct. In other words, we want to check if the answers that we have up here, the total number of bookings for each hotel, is correct. Now, down here, we have calculated the total number of bookings, room nights, room revenue for standard, and here we have a separate section for deluxe, which I will leave you to do on your own because it's just very similar to standard, except you just need to change the criteria for room type from standard to deluxe. So assuming you've already filled in both of these sections, we can now go here, and we're going to use the if function to check whether our total number of bookings, room nights, and room revenue for each hotel is correct. And the way we're going to do that is we want to check if the number of bookings up here for this hotel is equal to the number of bookings for standard and for deluxe for the same hotel. So let's do the if function here. If, okay, so if the number of bookings here for Royal Pacific Hotel and Towers equals, okay, and I'm using my mouse so you can see that the function is being completed up here. If this number up here is equal to the number of bookings for the same hotel, Royal Pacific Hotel and Towers, but for standard rate, plus number of bookings for deluxe, comma. So if they're equal, we want to display correct. And I have to put it in between double quotes because this is a text argument. If it's not correct, the third argument will be the value if it's not true, which is wrong. Okay, so here is our if function up here. I press enter and we'll see the result. Is it going to say correct or wrong? Okay, so it says correct. That means the value that is in B6 is equal to the value that's in B16 plus B26. And because of relative referencing in our formulas, we can simply just copy this all the way down here. Okay, we can copy this here for the room nights. We can copy it for the room revenues, and we can see that everything is correct. That means our overall totals for each hotel equals the totals for standard and deluxe. So we're in the clear, and we're done with this exercise. So we've learned how to use 4 functions: SUMIF, COUNTIF, SUMIFS with an S, COUNTIFS with an S, and we also learned how to use if function to check for correctness, which is basically comparing the result that you got with the result of another formula, which would also give you the same answer, to see if they both match.